Welcome, everybody, to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. And today is Friday, September the 12th, 2025. And we're glad that you are with us. People are still popping in. Mike will be with us here in just a second. And we hope that you have had a good week. It's hard to believe it's already Friday. And we had an awesome class Wednesday night. Looking forward to this coming Sunday night. And thank you again, Susan, for all that you're doing for that group. And hope that you have a super weekend. So I'm just waiting for Michael to pop in. If anybody has a question, Terry, hope things are going well for you at your daughter's wedding gathering. Hello, young man.
Spectacular. It's a real community effort. All the folks gathering and having communal meals and people floating in and out of the main house here. It's really fun.
Yeah. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And the actual wedding is when?
Tomorrow.
Yep. Very cool.
Join the grandchildren.
Yeah. Very cool. Is Ian and his kids up there?
Yes. Ian and the two boys here. Brittany, her two girls are coming in tonight.
Awesome.
Sweet. Wish we were there.
Yes, you would really like this space here.
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool. Sounds kind of like a Heartland vision.
Definitely.
So, any thoughts for you, Terry? Anything to share?
I was just breathing as I was waiting on the showtime to come around and relaxing into that energy. I was looking at, I did have a thought there earlier. I was looking at Carl Jung's Red Book and reading the history on that. And evidently, it was only truly made available to the public in 2009. Because the family hadn't decided whether or not he had intended that as a personal or a public collection, and they finally decided that it's public. And he started it early 1919, and it was his own personal catalog of foray into the archetypes and how that works in his adventures with the conscious and the unconscious. It's a pretty fascinating little book.
Yeah, I think when he talks about archetypes, he's basically just talking about shapes of hereditary memory, constructs shaped by human minds of hereditary memory that, when resonated, because it's been reinforced for so many generations, it comes up as an inclination, a behavior prompt, a certain structure in the mind. And it's definitely a powerful way to look and change the game.
Yeah, and he was very, very big on allowing the intuitive flow to come through. And in doing that, you were connecting a bridge between the conscious and the unconscious, similarly to, I would say, to the worksheet processes. So it opens the connection between the conscious and the unconscious.
Well, it's interesting how powerfully Einstein spoke about that. He said 90% of his work was intuition, that the only really valuable thing was intuition. He said only 10% of what he did was intellect.
Yeah, to me, that makes perfect sense, because it's like, okay, where'd the first book come from? There wasn't a book sitting around waiting for somebody to learn from. The books had to come through, and that all that
Exactly.
information had to come from somewhere. And that authority was always that of the individual and their intuition.
And sadly, when one of those things made money or gained power for somebody, it then became dogma and it had to rule. And people were murdered if they didn't follow the rule of the person who if they didn't follow the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules to make sure that he who has the gold gets more gold. Anybody who doesn't follow that golden rule in that system of intellect becomes enemy. And to me, the whole objective of this work is to open the original creativity of each and every one of us and honor that in and for and with each other and support that and join in that, because that's where the real gain is going to come for all of humanity, rather than somebody finding something that they can build on a hill and make money from and get power from. And that we're all designed to participate in that process. And I'd like to, any other thoughts for you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm listening, just
Okay,
dialing it and tuning in.
cool. All right, delighted you're here. So I want to give a shout out and an acknowledgement and thank you to Susan Flueck. Susan dropped me a note last night, and she'd been listening to one of my old videos. I'm not sure was in the codependence workshop or perhaps older, because anyway,
Codependence
she
workshop, lesson
say again.
number codependence and week number 7, and also
Okay,
in week number 3, I believe.
so
Those,
I
yeah.
way back when I didn't understand, and Susan caught the language. I spoke about how life abhors death in an attempt to communicate why we're motivated to healing. And Susan picked that up. And why don't you share it the way you shared it? I think you languaged it perfectly, Susan.
Sure, I sent him a text. I noticed it on week 3 and I didn't say anything. And then I thought, okay, that just point of note. And then I just said, hi, Michael. I sent him a text. I observed in a couple of your videos, your regulatory language, life abhors you being diseased. Life is love flowing through cells, so cannot abhor. And I said, not sure if you're still using the word abhor, and just wanted to bring this to your awareness if you are still using it. And of course, he said, thank you. Got it.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
perfect. I mean, it's just and thank you for pointing it out so clearly, because I can see where, that came from my own. How can I say, decrepit carbon-based memory,
yeah.
and the brainwash that I was subject to. And life is here to support life, and so we can explain the healing crisis or the movement toward healing by the fact that life is here to support us. And if we hold something that's unlike life, then that love flowing through a cell is going to show it to us.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're here to support. That's what we're here to look at and here to move through. And of course, language is a big part of the key. We're getting on in the course toward responsibility communication. And when you look at the fact that most of us have never seen, never heard in our natural lives, in our natural state, or what has become, I shouldn't say natural, I should say normal state, have never heard anyone use in their natural language words that respect or reflect responsibility communication. When have we ever seen someone speak up responsibly about their feelings and realities? And it's such an important core principle in this work, and it's the hook that brings everything back into truth. And that is when, just the subtlest things that we have been trained to say and have become patterned in our regulatory speech. Things like, yeah, that really made me mad. Remembering that the mind is an evidential device from the Harvard research. It says in a time frame where 10,000 brain cells are firing, max amount of data that goes into conscious awareness is 9 bits. What directs that process? Goals set with words. And in order for the mind to structure a reality, to create a construct, there have to be words that support that construct. And so when I say something as subtle as, yeah, that really made me mad, what I'm in fact saying to my mind is, mind, I know I've got some mad in there that's my responsibility, but I don't ever look at that. My family system taught me we never go there. So build me a reality that shows me that whatever it is responsible for my mad. Now, by that action, which again we call denial, if you're new to the show, we call that action denial. When I think or speak as though something outside of me is the cause of what's moving inside of me, then I automatically dissociate from the truth in me. And my mind hallucinates a lie, shows me a picture that made me mad. And now, gee, I've got the evidence. I can see it. See, I see it with my eyes. And I think that what I see with my eyes is actually out there because nobody taught me that I can't see anything with my eyes, that it's my brain that structures what I see. And my brain can only follow the instructions given. Build me a picture that shows me that that's the source of my mad. And so now I've got the evidence. I really see it in this evidential mind. And everything that comes from the evidential mind is so powerfully and beautifully pointed out in the Course in Miracles is a world built of false perception. It's all a lie.
Yeah.
And when I allow that 9-bit space in my conscious mind to be filled with a lie, I then call that lie truth. Yes, that makes me mad. And now truth bounces off of me. Now I live in blockage of truth. And that's one of the primary things that needs to be broken down in and for all of us. And so when we're here to support each other, especially, pointing out language as Susan did, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's, it's perfect.
And you know what? This is just, thank you for this, because it really, to lock it in for all of us, I think I said on the yesterday's call that this behavior that I found the most difficult communicating to my previous husband and how I felt, and lo and behold, is it okay if I share the text I sent him for taking responsibility?
Go for it.
Okay. So for those that don't know, because I got to see that the exact thing I did not like, what was the most difficult in my communication with him was what I was doing to him, and I didn't know that. And then he has been distant recently, not speaking to me. So he shared it all with me, and then I followed up with a text. We talked about it, and then I followed up the next day, and I just said, "Good morning, Tweety." We call each other Tweety still. I thank you for being honest about why you were distant. You observed me being critical of your friends, and you witnessed me imposing my beliefs on others, and you experienced me being critical of your and Alexander's eating choices, and that I always, because that's what he said, take the opposite position no matter what you share. I woke up realizing that you must feel attacked, judged, criticized, and unsupported when we communicate. How do I know that? It is exactly how I feel when I mention my spiritual friends and colleagues, when I bring up spiritual topics, when I share experiences of my spiritual life. I apologize again, Tweety, as I was not aware that I was doing to you exactly what I disliked the most in my communication with you. Now that I'm aware, I commit to see the best in those whom you have in your life, to honor your choices, to offer love and support, and to be a sounding board as you need. If you notice I am falling into old patterns, please remind me gently so that I can continue to grow and deliver in my commitment to you. You and I deserve this level of communication and support from each other. I look forward to us both feeling supported and valued in each other's presence, even though we experience the world differently. I am very grateful to have you in my life, Tweety.
Awesome. Perfect example of responsibility communication. In fact, if you'd send it to us, if it's okay with you, with your permission, and we can do it anonymously if you'd like,
Sure.
that would be a good piece to put on our responsibility communication page. We've got a couple different responsibility communication letters there.
Okay.
And one of the nice pieces I see you put in there is how you're going to treat his friends. And it's interesting, and I don't know whether you did this particular piece consciously, if you've run into it from the Aramaic, but the word humility doesn't mean what the Greeks gave us, grovel in the earth like a worm. It means to see the high. It's literally a mental quality of being able to see the highest and best in others.
Yeah. And what really got me is that I was exactly what you said, Michael, about deny, disassociate. And I've been
Dissociate, yes.
Dissociate, yeah. I created this image. This was my pattern of being critical, all the things he said, and I was doing it. And then I created the image in my mind, and there was Duncan, who I extended that projection to. And I was blaming him all these years. We were together 23 years, and it was my own making, my own made up reality based on my patterning. So, wow, that just,
And the beauty of that, is that, I mean, virtually every relationship created in the world today is, we call them love relationships, but they're relationships based on resonance, which means relationships based on matching bags of garbage.
yeah.
And with the insight you just offered, that's how healing happens. It's like they're the perfect ground for healing. And as
Mhm.
long as we're living in that projection style of communication, you made me, and never taking responsibility. Like, how many of us saw a parent who turned to you as a child, your parent, or turned to their spouse or someone else they knew and said, when thus and so happened, that brought a lot of rage up in me, or a lot of fear, and I realized I need to heal my fear. How many did anybody ever see that
Mhm.
anywhere in the world? I've never in a class when I've asked that question had anybody put their hand up. And what does that do? What do you suppose that impacts? How does that impact the way our mind constructs the world we see?
Mhm.
Again, when we call our lie truth, our minds are filled with untruth, and a mind filled with untruth is a treason to truth. And most people's communication styles are treason to their own human lives. That mind of Adam, Adamos, the red clay, the mind of man, is limited to the wiring and input that it's had. If it has no higher input, it will be controlled by whatever the source of the input was. And most of us trained in denial, dissociation, and projection. And, it's a perfect cycle of it. I do this behavior, I hide it from myself by telling somebody else they're the cause of it. Then, of course, they resonate that in me. And then what they resonate in me, what I've denied, I build my picture of them. I build my perception of them. And there I have the evidence that it's all their fault. I mean, it's a really interesting system till you get into how to collapse it and how to break it down. And this guy, Yeshua, 2,000 years ago said, here's how you do it. You don't let them off the hook. You cancel the goal that drives the pain perception. The pain perception drops in on its own footprint, and you get to clean it up in you. Whew. What a relief. That commercial, pop, pop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. It's like,
It is.
whew.
And it's so evidenced by exactly what happened that my perceptual reality, the construct I made, showed me the truth of it by Duncan reflecting back to me what was really going on. And then I was in being able to stay conscious, present, and active to receive it. And then in dream time, it was in dream time when it came forward. And
Right,
I woke up in the morning to say, oh my gosh, of course, that's exactly how I feel. I've done to him exactly how I feel in many exchanges with him. So yeah, what a gift. I can't, yeah, this forgiveness stuff, it works.
That's pretty cool. Sweet. And then once you realize that, then you get to keep this filter, this thing called Rockma active. And when you hear what I consider to be the 11 most important words ever spoken by anybody, follow Yeshua's answer to when they asked him what's most important in the law. He doesn't say love your neighbor, love God as yourself. He says have Rachma when you think of the Creator, when you think of neighbor, for by so doing you maintain self. You get to maintain your human life. And then he says, these are the most important words ever spoken on planet Earth. Because if their impact is understood by a mind, that life changes in ways you can't imagine. What did he say? For upon this hangs the law and all its prophets. Don't go to the Bible until you get that piece. Because if you go to the Bible or any other book, go to a relationship or any other person, as Susan's just described, you'll be looking at the constructs of your own mind projected into your brain's image of that person or that book. When you realize that and you know how to collapse that, and the signal that it needs collapsed is there's some form of hostility or fear in you, and when you collapse it, then the lie collapsed falls into the corrupt data beneath it. And when you breathe into that with active present love, as the worksheet invites you to do, then the knots of that lie are undone at a tissue level. Physical healing occurs, mental healing occurs, emotional healing occurs, relational healing occurs, financial healing occurs, because everything that occurs is a result of a creative process. And so remembering that first order of business, keep that filter active so that your mind is on track with truth. It's like, phew. I can remember the intensive, we had an intensive at Heartland. This is probably 30 years ago. We were doing laws of living. And those words in our laws of living class came out like they were a neon sign to me. I mean, I'd read them 1,000 times before. I'd taught laws of living dozens of times before. But that particular summer, my brain cells were ready. And that phrase came out. It was like, oh my God, the meaning of that. Without this, nothing is ever seen truly. Without Rachma in the mind to keep the mind on track with love, without the presence of love, intelligence and healing just isn't there. And it was interesting. There's a young woman who was a minister, and she was speaking at a local church the weekend that insight came to me. And we had already agreed that we were all going to go and support her as part of the class as she was speaking. And it had been determined months before, but that was the topic she was speaking on, was what's most important in the law. Just, one of those things, as Susan said, you can't make this stuff up. It's just amazing. Powerful. So does that resonate anything for anybody? Anybody have any thoughts, questions, ideas, answers? Breathing with you. Breath is so precious. Well, everybody's so quiet. Ms. Jeannie, do we have any questions in the from the app or?
No, Celinda
Any-
just unmuted her phone though.
Oh, well, let's say hello to Miss Celinda. How are you, young lady?
Hello, dear Michael and Jeannie. It's been a very busy week. I missed both your and Dr. Tim's classes, radio shows. Yes, busy. That's how we've been. It's the middle of harvest season. I think I might have mentioned that to you a week or so ago. I have a thorny issue that I would like to resolve in love, with love, from love, by love. I'm trying to communicate with my grandson. He is one of the most closed, and this is my understanding, which could be totally erroneous. He is one of the most locked down emotionally people I've run into. We took him on a trip when he was 9 years old, when Larry did his 7-state 4,000-mile journey to celebrate his 60th birthday. But little Michael Timothy at that time was totally addicted already to his Pokemon and other games of that era. And it's the same way now, I suspect. He's given me permission to chat with him. And when I call him, I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but he doesn't say a word. And I only have a very narrow window of 4 to 7 on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And I'm doing Tim's support group on Tuesdays. So that pretty much knocks me out of the ballpark on Tuesdays. And then Wednesdays, once a Wednesday, and a lot of times he doesn't want to talk. A lot of times I forget because I can't seem to get it in as scheduled. And I think there must be some resistance in that forgetting, because when I'm doing all the talking, I feel like I have to entertain him. And I don't know what to say. Otherwise, we'd be sitting on our telephones, with our telephones, not saying anything to each other. He'll grunt once
What
in a
age is he again?
32, I believe.
Oh, wow.
34, actually. Wow.
I thought you were talking about a kid of 9 or 10.
No, that was in 2000 when Larry did that trip when he was 9 years old, and it hasn't changed since then. And then Larissa's still not talking with me, but she was fine if Michael wanted to have a relationship with me. And it's very difficult to have a relationship, a unilateral relationship with someone. And I thought you could shed some light on it and help me understand how best practically to address the situation, because I must say it's very challenging and difficult for me to be able to come up with some sort of juggling act when I do call him. And often he will say, "Oh, I'm too tired today," or "I was sleeping when you texted," or any number of things. So between Michael and me, it's not happening. You know, my forgetting, and 4 o'clock to a 7 is a very busy time for me with supper and stuff like that. So it's very easy for me to get over-focused and forget. Even when
I have a solution for that.
Note. Yes.
You have an alarm on your phone. Set it once and it'll ring it'll remind you 10 minutes before that call's due every day for the rest of eternity.
Yes, if I'm by my phone. But if I'm out in the field or something like that, I have to somehow be aware, and it's not practical for either the phone or me to have a phone out in the field. Yeah.
Sure.
So, yeah, I understand that. And our phones are already obsolete to the point where our server said that they could just quit at any time. They're years obsolete.
Yeah.
So we're looking at another system, and I think I'm going to go to a simple flip top. I'm not even going to do the other, because I can still get on the Zoom classes with the flip top, because I have the number to call into. Yeah.
Right. Well, I just talked
but
with
I
a
thought
friend.
we could do a worksheet or something to help me resolve this. That would be wonderful.
Yeah. Let's just back
Or
up one
find
second. I'll
peace.
just throw. Go ahead.
Just to find peace within myself. That's what
Okay.
I'm looking for.
So I'll just throw out. I have a friend who just recently found a deal that T-Mobile had, and he'd been paying a fortune for his internet and for his phone, and he got the whole shebang for about a third of what he was paying. They have a senior special that's pretty amazing, and in most areas now, because they had a big lawsuit with AT&T, and AT&T had to give them $1 billion, and they built out high-speed internet, especially in rural areas. So it might be worth just checking out Mobile, and got a better deal. He had a flip phone previously, and he got home internet and a better deal on his phone than he was paying for his flip phone. So you might just check that out. I just spoke with him about that recently.
Oh, cool.
So then my question then is, when you call him and he's kind of dead to the conversation, what's that bring up for you?
What it brings up for me, and very often when he'll call Michael, I'll get a grunt. I call him, I'll get a grunt, because if I say, how's your week going? What's happening? So that's the tone of the call from his end at the very beginning. What it brings up for me is I have a desire to let him know. It's a communication thing, I think. I have a desire to let him know that I'm here. I'm here to be of support, even if it's just to hold thoughts, just warm, loving thoughts, which I do in between phone calls. And it's like a frustration because there's no feedback that I can discern, other than he says, love you, Grams, at the end, which I appreciate and I accept, and
Right.
vice versa.
Another question.
Mm-hmm.
Has anyone in your life ever accused you of giving them the silent treatment?
No. They accuse me of stalking them or
That was an interesting way you said no.
When they don't want to talk
That was
about
great.
it, giving them no space. I'm learning that one.
So it never happened with your mom or?
Of me
Mhm.
removing myself from her. Reframe the question for me, or rephrase it, Michael, because I think I've lost the question.
Have you ever, given the silent treatment to mom?
Yeah.
Or been kind of,
When
it sounds like
she
what you're
was
describing
yelling
is
at me.
he's acting like a bump on a log. Have you ever acted like a bump on a log in response to, let's say, mom?
Yeah, when she was yelling at me, I did.
Okay. So that's where I'd start with my worksheets. I'd certainly do a worksheet on your desire for him to communicate with you, but then I'd go back to the next level and see if there's a part of you that is playing that out with him. He's your daughter's son, is that correct?
Yeah.
Am I understanding correctly?
Yeah. How I'm not getting a picture of what you're saying. If I'm trying to communicate with him, and he is the bump on the log. Can you explain to me how I might be doing that with him when I'm calling him?
Well, I'm not suggesting that you're doing that with him. What I'm suggesting is that if it's a behavior you've done, you've been the bump on the log with your mom, then
Right.
there's an energetic dynamic in you that may be communicated with him. And, as I think about, and I may be off base here, but as I understand it, your communication with his mother is slim to none, and it's been a very contentious relationship. So very likely he's heard many of the same kind of stories about you that you've told about your mom.
Oh, I'm sure. So what I hear you saying, I don't know if this is what you're saying, but what I hear you saying is that he might feel unsafe, that I would attack him in some way.
You might.
That's what his dad did.
Yeah.
His dad just totally was, from what I understand, unacceptable. He was unacceptable, his behavior, his whatever, and so his dad just kind of basically kicked him out of the house, and he became homeless.
Is he homeless now?
No, Larissa has taken him in, and they have an agreement between him that he pays part of the rent and all of that, and he has to be working because he finally came and agreed to abide by her rules in order to have a roof over his head after he got shot in the face with a BB gun when someone stole his computer. Or my impression, if I understand correctly, he did get shot, but the guy had a BB gun and shot at him if he didn't, but I think he did.
Mm.
Fortunately, he's never been on drugs, bless his heart.
Mm.
So, it's like if he's shut down, it's not because he used drugs. It's fear. I understand that fear.
Well, my
But
offer
I'm
would be
sure
that,
that's a good point. Yeah. I was just going to say, I really appreciate the point that he might have heard lots of stories about the way I treated Larissa from Larissa, which would have been a match to how my mom treated me because of the whole power person dynamic and not having the tools to, or even the awareness of what a power person dynamic was. Yeah.
and chances are that as you were to his mom is to him. This is, it's a family tradition. Mom did to little Celinda what little Celinda did to little Larissa, what little Larissa did to her
little
son.
Michael. Because she said one thing, Larissa told me one thing once, but she never told me what it was there was something she had a regret about in relation to Michael Timothy when he was really, really little. So, that's possible. Well, she herself was homeless. And she was living, and I didn't realize this because I was under Larry's power person dynamic and scared to death of violating his will. And so when Larissa asked for money after we'd loaned her money and she couldn't pay it back, and then she needed more money because of the relationship she was in where the father of Michael and wrecked the car we had given her, we said, no, we can't help you financially anymore because, we've helped you a lot already. And then she went into this low income housing situation in San Diego where there were police helicopters going over with spotlights every night, and people were shooting up in the hallways, and there were murders there and everything. And she finally bailed out of that and went to a friend's house to stay, and ended up in a really uncomfortable situation with mold in the house and broken windows. And that's when Michael Timothy was a baby or a small infant. So you can imagine all of those scenarios. That I never even knew about until after the fact. Yeah.
Well, my offering at this point would be that you start doing some worksheets around your communication issues with your mother, your communication issues with Larissa, and of course your communication issues with Michael.
Okay.
Beyond that, I would suspect that with that type of environment, with that type of home situation, with a young man at 30 that is homeless, there's got to be a lot of terror, a lot of fear.
Yep.
And so perhaps picking up the communication, you might want to go back to the Codependence Intensive and review this section on responsibility communication. Pull out the latest instruction sheet. You'll remember in that intensive, the instruction sheet grew from what it had been for 25 years, 1 page to 3 pages, expanded quite a bit, and became much more detailed. And perhaps do some written communication with Michael about your issues, what's going on, and opening a space of safety for him. You know, one of the reasons when the first thing we do, the Friday night of every intensive we do, we talk about one of the objectives of the workshop is to create a safe space, and that the reason why people keep things hidden from themselves and or everybody else is because they've never felt safe to bring it forward. And I suspect from what you've described that Michael is probably carrying a load that he has nowhere to put it. And if he's heard stories about you, then you certainly wouldn't be that safe space. However,
for sure.
By owning, say again?
I said, oh, for sure. Right.
Yeah. So by owning some of the things that have gone down, by doing some responsibility communication with him, with a view perhaps with creating a space of safety for him to start to open up and talk, to start to deal with, you know, what kind of issues does a kid who grows up in a home where there are people being shot down the hall and people doing drugs out in the parking lot, when they're a child and broken windows in a house and cold, and I mean, what kind of issues are in the history of that young man?
And then the fear of his trauma that he feels too.
Yeah. And there's no modeling of anybody ever been able to deal with anything. So my offering would be that perhaps you as a grandmother here can create some modeling by becoming vulnerable, by owning some of what, you know, your part is in that history and the family history, and maybe being able to open some dialogue with him where he feels safe that, you know, he can actually say something, and maybe even something that the person he's talking to isn't going to like, and the person who hears it, grandma, is going to go, wow, that's, and can hold a space and be the space. Because from what you've described, I suspect he's gotten no safe space to communicate anywhere in his life.
Two things I wanted to share with you. All of a sudden, while you were talking, I was wondering if email would be a safer medium for him than a telephone call.
That's what I'm
Because I
suggesting with the
can
communication, that you
email.
put it in writing.
Oh, okay, perfect. And the other thing is, I don't think I have the 3-page one. I think I only have the PDF of the 1-page communication tool.
Okay, if you
The
go
booklet
into the
with
when you received the videos of the codependence intensive, you also received
right.
an email with all the worksheets in it. The
Okay.
link will be there, and if I don't, Jeannie, she's probably already put it. I haven't looked, but she's probably already put it in the chat.
Okay. Oh, I can't see the chat. Okay.
But in any event, if you look in your
I'll look
emails from
for it.
Jeanette M. Shaw at msn.com, you'll have
Right.
an email from her, and it will have that in it. And in fact, I think a special email was sent out when we created the expanded version. There's the expanded
I
version of that and the expanded version of the codependence worksheet. I would say that both of those would be very relevant and very functional in being able to open up the space for him. I mean, I'm trying to imagine
perfect.
and tap into what kind of world does this mind at 32 internally? What does he live in? What That's pretty heavy.
Oh yeah.
So you may
And
be
my
able to
heart
bring the
just
light.
goes out to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, is there a worksheet that we could do right now for me that might be helpful?
Absolutely.
Like a very simple one, just straight to the point. I'll get paper and pencil here.
Of all the suggestions I made for worksheets, which one resonates? Which one gives you the strongest emotional hit?
My communication with my mom, probably.
Okay. So that might be the place to start at this point.
Yeah. Cleaning up my stuff with her.
So I, Celinda, who am love, feel from what you've said, would the word be unsafe? Mom's yelling at you,
Oh, yeah.
you're shutting down, so I feel unsafe.
Yeah. Unsafe.
And situation, we don't have to get real detailed. You pretty much laid it out, the situation. For whatever reason, mom's yelling at you, and
Yeah.
your emotional response is
To
the same
withdraw.
kind of fear you identified with Michael.
Shut up. She used to say that she could see when the shades went down in my eyeballs.
That's
I was just gone.
probably,
I was gone.
yeah, that's probably the biggest clue. Can you pull those shades up for Michael? Can you help him to do that? Because that's probably the generational pattern.
I'm going to write this down so I don't forget it.
Well, you'll also have the recording of it if you need to go back and review it, and it would probably be worth reviewing.
Good. I got it.
So is there a willingness? I'm going to short form this a little bit, but is there a willingness with that trauma that went down with mom and the shades would go down, which I would hear as you'd just go blotto unconscious and leave, maybe even disassociate from your body, like literally leave your body?
I heard, I would hear what she said. I remember very distinctly always hearing what she said. It's like there was a part of me that didn't want to just leave my body.
Okay.
And I don't know why, but it was safe.
So you hung in there. Okay.
I hung in there. Yeah.
Okay. So then And remembering what it felt like to put the shades down, yet you could hear her. If you could have turned to her, if you could have, in your adult voice today, have turned to her and given her an instruction that would have resolved everything between you in that moment, what would that instruction be?
Please be gentle with me and love me just as I am.
Okay. So that's what I put in as my goal in number 3. And I bet if you opened the conversation with Michael, that would probably be exactly the wording of his goal as well. Probably with his mom and likely with you.
Perfect.
And so in your responsibility communication with him, I would suggest that you cater to that goal. That you write your responsibility communication with him about your issues, catering to that goal, demonstrating to him that it's possible to open this thing up and be heard and be respected, be supported, be nurtured, and ultimately be recognized as the being that he is and treated that way. And that you're the one who's going to create the safe space for that to happen. And of course, to do that, you're going to resolve it with your mom and with your daughter. Big breath on that. So then, while breathing, having identified the goal, then the next step would be to bring love present. What is it that taps you into the deepest, clearest love that you can tap into?
My paternal grandmother nurturing me. She was my lifeline.
Nice that you had that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was just thinking about that and how many. And Larissa's other grandmother was very critical, very sarcastic herself. I used to call her my mother-in-law on steroids because my mom, she was beyond my mom.
Yeah.
Almost like bipolar. That's interesting. I never thought of that before, but both of them were almost like bipolar. They could charm a snake. Yeah. But I don't like labeling. But that they could charm you in one minute. My mom was a fantastic liar. She would lie right and left. She didn't know the difference between exaggeration and lying, and then she could just turn on me in a minute and start screaming at me.
And
however, she never spanked me except for that one story she told me about.
Yeah.
But I think that one story was foundational.
So just for information's sake, my offering would be that labeling is not necessarily a terrible thing. Labeling can inform you and bring understanding to something as long as it doesn't become a judgment that we hold as them, as their identity. But if someone does have a challenge in a particular arena, being able to label that challenge and go, oh, well, here I can identify what that is, and here's what healing would look like. And by the way, there are some very compassionate people who have dealt with this and dealt with it successfully. That label could become one of the best things somebody could ever have. The problem becomes when it's the judgment of them rather than, oh, here's something that's in need of healing. So how about then, so in step 4, you've identified the goal in step 3. So how about just bringing your grandmother into the picture, just breathing in her essence, her sweetness, her courage, her support of you, the safety. Just let all of your sensory apparatus tap into what an awesome gift she was in your world. It's like, thank God you've got that.
Really. And I'm just realizing that now as I listen to the radio shows and other people's experiences, and to realize they didn't have that. And I've been
You think Michael had that?
complaining all of my... No. I don't know about Larissa because I never was around her when she was parenting him. You know, I didn't follow her around, see what she was like in her worst moments and best moments. Yeah.
So would you be willing to develop the nature and the characteristics to be that for Michael?
Of my grandmother?
Uh-huh. Can you channel her? Can you bring her through your healing and offer that space to him? That kind of safety, that kind of care,
Yeah.
that kind of concern, that kind of support, because that's what he's going to need to pull out of, I suspect, to pull out of what he's stuck in.
Okay. Well, I never thought of it until just recently when I've been listening more to, I think in a deeper way, to other people sharing how, oh my God, I have been complaining about only, quote unquote, getting to be with my father's side of the family when I got 2 years with them.
Mm.
Like, can we reframe this?
So breathe in that presence.
Yes.
Then bring your goal
That's
from number 3 for Mom to see you for who you are and treat you lovingly, gently, and respectfully.
Okay.
And then cancel that goal. And as you cancel that goal, in regard to Mom, where does your mind go? What happens?
The energy changes in relation to its shift of the attention on me and my needs to the intention and attention onto Michael or Larissa or even my mother.
Yeah, she probably didn't have it either. So.
Oh no, I don't think so. My grandmother Hayes was a shunner from the stories I heard in the family.
So
But
look
she
at the
never
opportunity.
shunned me.
Look at the opportunity you have to just open to and bring, I mean, literally channel your grandmother's energy to all of these generations and bring massive healing. Receive it in yourself on a whole new level. Honor her gift by offering it.
I have tears right now.
Breathe into it. Go for it. Feel it.
I just never thought about channeling.
So she's probably right there behind you right now saying, open the gates. Here we go. I'm ready and willing. And let yourself receive it on a whole new level and then extend it to your mom, to Larissa, and to Michael.
And to Barry, and to everyone. What an extension of the whole blessing idea for me.
Breathing with you and holding space for it.
I think I had a goal for Michael well, I know I did, to be different than he was. So my focus was not on what I could do, it was what I couldn't do,
Right.
which wasn't mine to do in the first place.
And you can go ahead and take it on. In being, abundance and generosity is natural.
I think that would be my new goal.
Awesome.
Abundance, generosity, and what was the natural about?
That
Just genuine.
when we open, when being is revealed to us, the being that we are is revealed to us by our very nature. There is abundance, there is generosity, there is just a flow, an unlimited flow of whatever is needed in the space. It's just natural. Think about Yeshua comes out of the Garden of Gethsemane. The high priest servant has just had his ear chopped off by Peter. And here's a human being called Yeshua. And he stands before the man who's going to have him mercilessly slaughtered, and abundance and generosity and healing flow from him. And he heals the man who's going to have him mercilessly slaughtered. He demonstrates what a human life looks like. We can all be that demonstration. And fortunately, you had your grandmother to model it for you. And we appreciate you bringing it forward to this whole community.
Oh, yes, it was very sweet. My stepmother loved me. She wanted a little girl, and I was it. And my father, even though he was bound from his German patriarchal reservation and couldn't cry or couldn't express his emotions, he was so kind-hearted, trying to be a man and trying to be a gentle man in a world that didn't want gentlemen.
Right.
And so he couldn't be true to himself, except in very limited ways. And it was just amazing how I just didn't realize. I knew I was saved by them as a little girl, saved by them, right? Because I didn't have the brain cells to know that the salvation is from within. But when I needed it, it was there. Yeah.
Awesome. So now that you have it, you can pass it on. And Michael probably does not have a clue that that's what he needs, but you can find the space to provide it. And Jeannie had put the link in for the latest communication worksheet, and I also texted it to you.
Good. And the second one that you said something about was also an update. There was one other document that you said was an update.
Oh, that's the power person worksheet.
Oh, the power person. Yeah, I have, I think, the 16 numbered one, but you said there are 19 now or something.
Now 19, yeah. And there were a couple of radio shows we did on it. I think you were on that back a while ago.
And both of those are
when
on
we
the
released
website.
it.
Okay. Oh, okay. They're a download for anybody? Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, we decided back several months ago.
Yeah.
Well, it was
perfect.
originally reserved just to people who were in that intensive. And then back a few months ago, if you remember, we did a couple of radio shows on. We decided we're going to publish it and cover the whole thing. So That 19-page
Yeah,
worksheet
those-
is. Yeah. For anybody
Good.
that's really ready to
Good.
handle the power person dynamic, there it is. It breaks the whole thing down in all its glorious
Perfect.
detail.
I'll go back and look for those radio shows because I couldn't. We've been having a lot of medical appointments in Eugene for our eyes, and so they're on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or they're on a show day. I can't do that.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
All right, young
I
lady.
think that's good. Okay.
Holding a
thank
space
you.
as you work on that.
Very helpful. Yes.
Cool. If any other questions come up, you know where we are.
I know. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're
thank
most
me
welcome.
too.
And deserving. Yes. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Have a blessed one. Bye-bye.